Picture this. You're sitting down at your desk to get some work done. Whether that's your next assignment or your next reading, you're just excited for some quiet time to settle down and get into it. You open up your laptop to start chipping away at that work, when all of a sudden, you start hearing a song play in your head. And it kind of sounds like this. Don't you dare look at me that way. I don't need reminders of how you don't feel the same. Sounds like Leve's From the Start, which is honestly one of my favorite songs. But then you hear it again. Don't you dare look at me that way. I don't need reminders of how you don't feel the same. And then you hear it again, and again, and again, until it becomes impossible to get any work done. All because of this short, 5-second snippet of a song that's stuck in your head like a broken record. In fact, the song's been stuck in my head for so long that it's been there longer than when I started working on this presentation. Like, I'm not joking, this was live footage of me trying to get my PNB talk done. So my question today is, what's going on here? Why do songs get stuck in our heads? In fact, this experience is so common that we actually have a word for it, called earworms. And no, I'm not talking about an actual worm in your ear. An earworm can be defined as the experience of having a piece of music involuntarily repeat in your head, typically a short segment of a catchy song. Now, before we get into why this repetition occurs, we're going to take a step back and understand a little bit more about how our brain actively holds information, specifically with our memory. Short-term memory is a temporary storage for information that holds about 7 ± 2 chunks of information at a given time. Now, this short-term memory model doesn't necessarily highlight the fact that we actively work with and manipulate the information that's in our short-term memory store, which is why we'll be taking a look at the working memory model, which is a little bit more of a modern, updated version of this. Now, the working memory model has 3 short-term buffers or stores that maintain transient sensory information. These include the episodic buffer, the visuospatial sketchpad, and the phonological loop, which is what we'll be focusing on more today. The phonological loop is the perfect place for earworms to live, as it helps maintain auditory information through rehearsal. The phonological loop has 2 main components: the phonological store, which is a brief storage space for auditory information, and the subvocal articulation, which helps rehearse this auditory information. You can think of the subvocal articulation as the inner voice, and the phonological store as the inner ear. Now, earworms start by occupying the phonological store. According to a study done by Killingly and others, they found that they had participants complete or listen to various songs, and these songs were determined to either be catchy or not catchy based on a pilot study that they conducted earlier. Then they had participants complete a serial recall task, and it turns out that the participants performed significantly worse on recall tasks during silent periods after listening to catchy songs. Now, this is likely because their phonological stores were still occupied with the catchy song that they listened to earlier. Even during silent periods, it was impairing their recall performance. It's almost like the earworm from the catchy song refused to move out of the phonological store, meaning that the new information from the serial recall task couldn't actually move into the phonological store. And it's important to remember that what's actually keeping that earworm in the phonological store is the subvocal articulation, or that inner voice that we talked about earlier. And it's almost doing some covert singing, and it's like using rehearsal to keep that earworm in the phonological store. So overall, earworms take advantage of the phonological loop and almost hijack the 2 components of the system to cause a continuous, unintentional rehearsal of that musical fragment, meaning that song that you were listening to earlier stays stuck in your head. Another thing that contributes to the development of these earworms is the Zeigarnik effect, which is the tendency for individuals to recall an unfinished task more prominently than a task that is complete. So let's say you're walking on your way to class and you're listening to your favorite song. But unfortunately, once you get to the lecture hall, you have to click pause. Now, because you clicked pause on this song, you've cut the song short, and it's leaving you with this feeling that the song was left incomplete. Because of this feeling of incompleteness, the song is more prominent in your memory, which means it's more likely to become an earworm. According to the same study done by Killingly and others, they found that serial recall performance was significantly worse only in the conditions where they truncated or cut short, catchy songs, indicating that truncated, catchy songs are more likely to become earworms. So note to self, never pause Leve's music again. So overall, earworms are a fascinating concept and something that many of us experience on a weekly basis. The phonological loop reinforces this earworm through involuntary rehearsal. The Zeigarnik effect contributes to its development, and the catchier a song is to you, the more likely it is to become an earworm. And it's important to understand these underlying cognitive mechanisms so that we can work around them, especially when you have an important presentation to work on. So, the next time you have a song stuck in your head, try giving your phonological loop something else to do. And make sure that when you're listening to your music, you're listening not only from the start, but all the way to the end. Thank you.